Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we took our quiz already, the next thing we're going to do is units and dimensional analysis, which sounds a lot more complicated than what it is. Really, we're talking about conversions, converting inches to feet, ounces to gallons, things along those lines. So when you're solving a problem, it's very important to correctly identify the units being considered or measured. Common units of measure are grams, ounces, pounds, centimeters, feet, miles, minutes, hours. Dollars are a unit of measure. Okay, so in coordinate algebra, you're going to be asked to solve a lot of real world problems. The translation here is we're going to start getting into word problems. Okay, the real world uses units of measure. We always do. It's essential to use the correct unit. So, because without the correct units, the numbers themselves have no meaning. You're not going to be able to communicate if you're not using the right units of measure. So there are going to be times when you're asked to do word problems that you're going to have to convert one quantity that's in one unit to a different unit of measure. And what you're using is conversion factors. So an example of a conversion factor would be 1 hour has 60 minutes. Okay? So the context or the situation that the problem gives you tells us what type of units to use. So if it's talking about drinking water, you're not going to necessarily use gallons if you have cups as an option. Okay? Or liters. Right? Dimensional analysis is a way to determine the relationships among quantities using their dimensions, units, or equivalents. Really, it's a fancy way to say unit conversion. Okay? So the process of dimensional analysis is used to convert one unit to another when you know the relationship between the units. So the conversion factor is the relationship between the units. Okay? So for example, if I said, I need you to convert 110 minutes into hours. What we're doing is we're using the conversion factor of 60 minutes to 1 hour. So that's my conversion factor right here. Alright, so what that equals is 110 minutes over X number of hours. I don't know how many hours we're getting at yet. Now that I have my proportions set up, what I can do is I can cross multiply. So I'm going to use the conversion factor to set up a proportion, then cross multiply to solve. So I get 1 hour times 110 minutes, X hours times 60 minutes. You're going to take the units with you because the units will go away. So you're going to solve for X by dividing to undo that multiplication. So I'm going to divide off the 60 minutes. So what I'm left with is X hours, and the minutes go away here too, okay, equals 110 divided by 60 hours. So the unnecessary units will cancel out. It'll leave you with the units that your answer should be in, and you're left with 1.83 hours equals 110 minutes. Okay, so another example, just to give you more than one, would be 600 kilograms into grams. So my conversion factor, that's what you got to think of, is 1 kilogram to 1,000 grams. So we're going to set up our proportion, 1 kilogram to 1,000 grams. I put kilograms on top, kilograms need to stay on top. So 600 kilograms to X number of grams. I'm going to cross multiply, and I end up with X is going to equal 600,000 grams. So it takes, this means that there are 600,000 grams and 600 kilograms. Okay, so dimensional analysis is often used in more complex problems for converting units, more than just something real simple. It's usually word problems. And there are 6 steps to dimensional analysis. First, read the problem. Underline the unit that's given and circle the unit that you want to end up with. So we underline what they give you. In this case, we would have underlined kilograms, and I would have circled grams. Okay, that's step number 1. The next thing you got to do is think about all the different ways to get from one unit to another. It may not be just one direct conversion. You may have to convert, and then convert again, and then convert even a third time. Okay, so you're going to write down all the conversion factors that you're going to need to use. So if I was going from cups to gallons, I might do 2 cups in 1 pint, 2 pints in 1 quart, 4 quarts in 1 gallon. That's 3 different conversion factors that I might need to use. Okay, then you're going to set up your proportions. You're always going to put what is given on top and the X on the bottom with units. Okay, and then you'll need but the units that you need on the bottom. And then you'll need to set this equal to your conversion factor. You cross multiply, solve for X, remember to cancel the units so that you end up with the right units, And last but not least, write the answer so that it answers the question from the problem, especially if you have a word problem. So convert 30 quarts to gallons. All right. So my conversion factor I thought about was I need 4 quarts to 1 gallon. So they give me 30 quarts, X number of gallons, cross multiply, and what I end up with is there's 7.5 gallons when you're talking about 30 quarts. So there are 30 quarts in 7.5 gallons. And that's it for our notes tonight.